Saturday, Christmas comes early.
Unbelievable! Welcome to this incredible scene.
Bills.
To the end zone!
Chargers.
It's a touchdown!
An exclusive NFL game.
That's fantastic!
Live in primetime.
Wow!
Only on Peacock.
With a Christmas gift to their fans.
They're having some fun now.
Bills versus Chargers. Saturday, 7:30 Eastern. Exclusively on Peacock.
'Tis the season to shine with H&M. Discover the holiday collection and find fashionable pieces for your wardrobe or for under the tree. Get inspired and dazzle with this year's glam. From tuxedo styles, bow detailed pieces, impressive prints, and more. From unforgettable looks to unforgettable gifts. With fashion finds to home decor, find it all at H&M. Treat your loved ones and yourself this season. Shop in-store or at hm.com.
Reboot your credit card with Apple Card, the credit card created by Apple. It gives you unlimited daily cash back that you can now choose to grow in a high-yield savings account that's built right into the Wallet app. Apply for Apple Card now in the Wallet app on iPhone and start growing your daily cash with savings today. Apple Card subject to credit approval. Savings is available to Apple Card owners subject to eligibility requirements. Savings accounts provided by Goldman Sachs Bank USA. Member FDIC. Terms apply.
Get everything you need for your holiday meal at Whole Foods Market. Right now, you'll find animal welfare certified rib roast on sale. It's a deliciously crowd-pleasing centerpiece. Plus, save on spiral sliced ham, bone-in lamb, and seasonal produce like sweet potatoes and Honeycrisp apples. For ready-to-eat sides, head to the prepared food section. Done. And remember that Whole Foods Market caters. Order gourmet catering at shop.wfm.com. Bring the holiday magic with Whole Foods Market.
This is Sad Bell with the Kansas City Soccer Journal. I'm going to say this is an episode of Keeping Current with Kansas City, even though it'll be a little bit more than just Kansas City. With me, I have a special guest, Anna Witte. Is that the right way to say it?
It is. You got it.
I'm always worried. Everybody has
Yes.
a little different pronunciation. So,
No, you nailed it.
all right. I met Anna a couple years ago at the soccer coaches convention. It was in Kansas City, and we kind of become friends, and we've conversed every once in a while and all that stuff. But she knows the NWSL and a lot of other soccer. You were a college player, and you were a broadcaster now. Just what else would you like the people to know about you?
Yeah, no, that's basically it. I would say I'm a broadcaster because underneath that umbrella, I feel like I do so much in the world of soccer and just sports in general. I call soccer, especially the NWSL, as an analyst. I can do play-by-play. I love doing sideline reporting for hoops and for football as well. But I also love the social media aspect and the TikTok, the Instagram, and kind of getting into the behind the scenes of all that. So I love touching a little bit of everything, especially in the soccer world. So broadcaster definitely encompasses it all for sure.
Well, because I've enjoyed sitting and talking soccer. Again, we've mostly talked NWSL, but soccer in
Mhm.
general. I know you moved to a new area. Are you kind of getting
Did.
into like any new teams over there?
Oh, just Charlotte FC in my backyard. Well, yeah, so they made it to the wild card game, and that was extremely exciting. And I actually was here a few weeks ago when Messi came into town, and I almost bought the $68 like nosebleed ticket. But I was like, "There's no way he's playing. He's not going to play on this turf. It's the final game of Inter Miami season. Just no way." And of course, he played, and I wasn't there. But no, I certainly have really enjoyed following them and getting into that fandom. They have such great fans here. And also the League One level, the Charlotte Independence, the NCFC over in Raleigh are both in the final. So there's a lot of soccer here in the Carolinas. And one of the reasons that I really moved back, I'm originally from Cary, North Carolina. And there's just so much going on in this state when it comes to the youth level, collegiately. There's a lot of great colleges, and then obviously at the professional level as well. So yeah, I love Charlotte. It's a great town.
Yeah, that whole area is great with soccer. That's I've been very happy in Kansas City with Sporting Kansas City, FCKC, now the current the indoor team and minor league teams and colleges and stuff, but not quite at the level with some of that out there. So I would be I'm kind of jealous that you have that many different things to watch and follow and report on.
Yeah, no, it's really fun. I will say, with Charlotte FC being in its second year, it's gonna be really exciting to see its growth. Like, you're in a position where with Sporting KC, it's been around for a long time. There's been a lot of consistencies, and I think it's cool to see the growth of Charlotte FC, the fandom, what kind of fans are attracted to soccer and MLS in particular. So yeah, I think it's great. I mean, we also have the Panthers, we have the Hornets, we have a lot of really good college hoops in this area as well. And obviously, our Panthers aren't that good this season. Our Hornets haven't been good historically. I mean, you guys had the Chiefs, so I shouldn't even be talking about NFL.
Yes, yeah, I don't think I'm allowed to talk NFL. I think I'd have to pay a bribe or something to be allowed to talk about that.
Yeah, no, so many good storylines in that league. But soccer, football in general is just really great in this town. And like I said, it's the reason I moved back for sure. One of the reasons.
My one end to talk about the NFL though is Mahomes is like an owner of everything. So
Right,
and him and his wife part
Brittany.
owners in the Current and yeah, and him part owners in Sporting KC and the Royals. So and I think he really owns the Chiefs. Nobody just knows it yet.
I'm sure he does. I'm sure it's on his list of things to do. If he doesn't, Brittany probably does.
Yeah,
He's smart. He's been really smart with his money. But and like to your point, it's been fun to see how people have become attracted to the NWSL just based off of different owners.
yep. It is, yeah, that has been a big attraction, and it's kind of a new thing with the NWSL is attracting those celebrity owners that then bring in a few additional fans and that crossover.
Totally. You see it in Angel City. I've been able to go to a few of those games in the past few seasons, their first 2 years, I guess. And it's really fun to see like the energy, how the owners get involved, and how that's bringing in so many different fans in the LA area.
Yeah, they didn't make it out of their first round of the playoffs though, did they?
No, no, they didn't. But I really like what they have building over there, with Becky Tweed now returning. I think they've got something brewing for sure.
Yeah, no, I agree. Kind of going to one of the original reasons I brought you on was to talk about Kansas City though, and
Yeah.
because you've covered Kansas City Current games and a lot of NWSL games. Kind of let's kind of look back at the year. What did you see go wrong for Kansas City?
Biggest thing that probably went wrong for Kansas City is the amount of injuries that they had. You look at Morgan Gautrat, Vanessa DiBernardo, there was Dabinia out for periods. I think Kristen Hamilton was out for a good bit as well. And there was that changing of the back line, which was probably the biggest thing that happened to this Kansas City side that put them in that position to not towards the end, not be able to push through. I think you talk about their center backs, and with Robinson sliding in, there was another center back as well. I forget who she is off the top of my head, but she slid into those defensive roles. Yeah, go
Yeah,
ahead.
I was gonna say early on when they had Elizabeth Ball out, they brought in Croy Soto, so you had two
Right,
rookies, one of them not even drafted, starting
right,
center back.
right. So I think just the mix of that, and then bringing in an interim head coach after Matt Potter got fired. I think there was just so much that happened off the field, on the field, with injuries and with changes that are very hard to do. And then you throw in the World Cup and so many different changes that are really hard to break out of. And Kansas City just wasn't able to repeat what they did the year prior.
When uh when Potter was in charge, he was a bit more defensive and more countering kind of coach, and Caroline Wehrblum was more
Yes.
wanted to be more possession and good attacking. How much do you think that maybe played into that difficulty of changing styles?
Yeah, no, I think that's a fair question. I would say it's a good bit. I would say it was a little bit of the change. And I think maybe it's not even the style, but a different approach and a different head coach and somebody who wants them to play, like you said, in a different style. And then as soon as Werebloom came in, we started to see those injuries slowly but surely trickle into the team. So not only was it a wholesale style change to an extent, but it was also now they were having to shift players maybe into positions that they normally don't play, playing next to players that they normally don't play with. And it put them in a position where it was a growing year, a year that they had to build, a year that they had to adapt and learn. And I think honestly for Kansas City, you look at some of the negatives. Yeah, they didn't get the results. They ended at the bottom of the table this year. There was so much individual growth and I think growth as a team now that they have a new head coach and they have a direction and they have somebody that they think will be consistent and steady with them for the foreseeable future with this club. I think it kind of relieves these players and lets them relax a little bit. You also look at the age too. There's a lot of young players on this Kansas City team, and it comes to a point where there's a lot outside of just soccer. And I think that's kind of what happened this year.
Another injury that neither one of us mentioned earlier was Alex Loera.
Yes.
She was, consistently being a six last year, and she was without Desiree Scott there. She was needed as a six this year, and she was out for quite a while too.
Right, and Alex Witte, that's funny you bring that up because I actually called Santa Clara's game against Gonzaga this past weekend, and we were talking to her former head coach at Santa Clara, and he was making a comparison to another center back that he currently has there and saying when Luetta was a player at Santa Clara, she wanted to be a midfielder, and then they drifted her back into the center back role. She did not want to play there at all. They moved her back up into the midfield, and then they lost, and she was like, "Okay, I understand that you want me in that center back role." So it shows that she has that ability to play both positions, but then she gets injured and she can't slide back into that center back role, which they really needed her in.
Yep.
So, yeah, that was a huge loss for them this year.
Yeah, she's very versatile in that, and she can play either. I know she likes the midfield better, and she's been one of the strengths with picking out those long passes to switch to the wing or slide it through to the forward, and she's really good at that. I hate to, I never want to be biased, but she's one of my favorite players in the NWSL right now.
Yeah, I could totally see why you enjoy watching her play. And not only is she good at switching the point of attack, she has this steadiness and this calmness, especially in her second season. You could kind of see that when she did come back onto the field towards the end of the year. She had been through so much. She had experienced the NWSL already, and she understood the role really well that they were asking her to play. So for her, she has an extremely high ceiling in that role. It was just, again, another bummer and another player that you don't want to see get injured in a year that you already have so much chaos going on.
Yeah, I don't want to turn this into a Lorera show, but she was also a little more mature than some of the rookies coming out of college because she got an extra year in college
Right.
for Santa Clara with the whole COVID years. So,
Right. Right. Exactly.
uh, speaking of the transition that's facing the current, like you said, they now have a new coach, Vlatko Andonovski, Kansas City resident, uh, guy I've known for a long time since he before FCKC days. Uh, Obviously, he's got experience in the NWSL in those first few years, and now is coming back to it after a not quite successful stint at the national team coach. What do you see that he can bring, and what does he need to accomplish?
I think Andonovski is going to be excellent for Kansas City. First, his experience in knowing the town of Kansas City. He knows the soccer in that area. He's comfortable in that area. His family is there. He's not going to have to be doing as much travel as he was doing with the national team. And the biggest thing that stood out to me in his press conference was he said he wants to be a part of the day to day. When you're a national team head coach, you are essentially just a recruiter, constantly watching the players that you have recruited. You're traveling to games often, and that's a lot. And those are two very different things, and you don't see it in other sports at all, really. And it's a hard transition. So I think for him, he got a lot of flack after the World Cup, and some of it probably was rightly so that
Yeah,
he did deserve it because he's the head coach and he did do a good job of shouldering that and having good responses. But I also think too, you look at the US national team playing their recent friendlies against Colombia. They didn't play well. I think there's a bigger story there. It can't just be his fault. And I thought it was really interesting when players started coming out and kind of slightly throwing a little bit of jabs at him, if you
yeah,
know what I'm saying. He didn't say anything. He didn't come out and he just let it happen. And now he's back in the NWSL. That to me is a coach that you can really respect. And takes his job and his role extremely seriously. I think he's going to be good at on 1v1 relationships, like really good at developing players, encouraging them. It's a young team, and that's what they need as well. His tactics are so strong. I mean, he's shown that he understands the game, especially this league. It's changed since 2019 and when he was here, But all that to say, I think he still has a really good opportunity just to prove that hopefully, you know, over the next few years, this club could get healthy. Um, but I'm really excited. And I also think, too, Kansas City's a club where they're growing off the field as well. He is a name in this sport that everybody knows. And he has that in his back pocket as well to kind of grow soccer in your backyard.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to him being back. And again, I liked Caroline Werebloom. I'm just gonna call her
It's a
Caroline.
tricky one.
Yeah, I try, really I do. Um, I really liked her, and I think she will be a good coach. I think she just probably needs to grow a little bit more and have that experience a little bit more.
Mhm.
Uh, Vlatko, and something you mentioned that he mentioned in the press conference was the day-to-day stuff. My biggest concern with him going to the national team was that he didn't have the players on a constant basis and to make them better. Because I would watching with FC KC, could watching with the Kansas City Comets in the indoor league, and players would just get better every little bit here and there, and they would just get better throughout the entire year. The team would be playing at their best at the end of the year, and that was because he would continuously coach them to be a little bit better on everything they're doing. And I was afraid that with the national team, you can't do that because you only have players for a week or 2 weeks or a month at the most, and you can't change their habits in that time. You can't make them
No.
a whole lot better. You can tiny little things here and there. And I would watch national team players leave FCKC playing really, really well, go to the national team and regress. And when they come back, and all of a sudden they were just making stupid runs again until about 2 weeks later and back into practice, and they were kind of back into doing the form. I'm not going to name names there. So I do think that that's really going to be a strength for him, and with a club team.
Yeah, I agree. And I think at the national team level, and something I've learned as a broadcaster and just covering the sport the past few years, is your role as a coach with the national team. You're really not even a coach or a manager. You're just corralling good talent and then using the short period of time that you have 5 to 6 times a year to make sure that talent's good for the Olympics, the World Cup, and what other important tournaments they have coming up. So it's a very difficult position to be in. You have to be a good people person and be able to reach out to people often. And I think him in Kansas City having, 22 league games consistently, being able to work with these players in and out. But I will say the caveat for that too is it'll be really interesting to see how he manages this team in 24. Can he get them on the right track? And if he doesn't, that's where I think you have the leg to stand on. Is he,
Right.
the coach that he was prior?
This episode is brought to you by Google Pixel, the official fan phone of the NBA and WNBA. The new Pixel 8 and Pixel 8 Pro are built different. How? Take the Audio Magic Eraser tool. It helps block out distracting crowd noise so your play-by-play commentary sounds crystal clear. The only phone engineered by Google brings out the audio you care about so your videos sound as crisp as they look. Learn more at googlestore.com/pixelnba. Audio Magic Eraser requires Google Photos app. May not work on all audio elements.
Get everything you need for your holiday meal at Whole Foods Market. Right now, you'll find animal welfare certified rib roast on sale. It's a deliciously crowd-pleasing centerpiece. Plus, save on spiral sliced ham, bone-in lamb, and seasonal produce like sweet potatoes and Honeycrisp apples. For ready-to-eat sides, head to the prepared food section. Done. And remember that Whole Foods Market caters. Order gourmet catering at shop.wfm.com. Bring the holiday magic with Whole Foods Market.
The holidays are a time to feel and create joy. And what could be more joyous than the look on her face as she unwraps a stunning new jewelry piece from Blue Nile? How about getting 50% off your purchase? Blue Nile offers premium quality, priced below traditional retail. Their online experts are available 24/7 to answer any questions and make sure you've picked the perfect gift. For a limited time, you can get 50% off at BlueNile.com. That's 50% off at BlueNile.com.
This episode is brought to you by Seed. Seed's DSO1 is a 2-in-1 probiotic and prebiotic designed for whole body health. Formulated with 24 clinically and scientifically studied strains, DSO1 offers benefits in and beyond the gut. See why DSO1 is the probiotic recommended by top doctors and nutritionists. Go to seed.com/Spotify for 25% off Seed's DSO1 Daily Symbiotic.
And it could have just been that at the early part of the NWSL history, it wasn't a
Right.
great league.
Totally. I mean, yeah, absolutely. I think, yeah, you look back at when he was successful. I mean, this league looked so different in 2018, 2019, really the early days, the amount of talent that they were bringing in. I mean, there was no international players coming. There was no, like, outside of Dabinia, really, there was no Caroline or anything. So I think the talent level, who he's going to be coaching against, is going to be drastically different for him. And that is probably going to be one of his biggest hurdles, I think, this season.
Yeah, I think the talent. I think you're right on the talent level. I do think that there was a lot of good coaches back in the early NWSL days. A lot of terrible people, though.
Yeah. Yeah. There
Well, I
definitely
don't.
was a lot of terrible people.
But if I say they were good coaches, I don't want people to get the wrong the wrong idea
Right.
there. I'm not saying they were good people because obviously there were some people that were horrible. Um, so as he takes over, he's going to have a new young player. Player's not even turned 16 yet. Alex Pfeiffer, she'll turn 16 like this month, I think. He'll have a chance to develop her. Michelle Cooper, Alexa Spanstra, who turned. I mean, at the end of the season was, you know, a shining light on the team. Scored a great goal, made some great plays. Uh, you know, he'll have a couple of international center backs. We don't know what the team's going to look like because how everything's going to turn out over the off season with expansion drafts and free agency and stuff. But he'll have a lot of talent to work with.
Yeah, I think Andonovski's walking into a situation where players are now coming back from the injuries that they sustained in the 23 season, and they're able to work and they're able to kind of come together and do more than just off the field, team building type stuff. And I mean, you mentioned Spanstra. She was the 10th overall pick in 23. She was a bright talent for Kansas City, and it's clear that she still has that. But it's now that Andonovski's getting a hold of her, now that she's in a system that has a consistent coach, there's consistent people kind of in her brain. I think that's the hardest thing for some of these young players coming into the NWSL is having to handle not only an extremely long season, but the trades and getting new teammates and getting new coaching staff. Now that this Kansas City team has some of their key players kind of locked in, hopefully, I mean, the expansion draft could change everything. I think this is a good position for him to be in with some of these players. But yeah, no, I agree. I think Spancho was great towards the end of the year. Mace is a great, consistent leader, somebody you can bet on. Elizabeth Ball being back as an anchor. A lot of bright talent. Hopefully, we get to see Desiree Scott at the beginning of 24 too. I would assume we would, but you never know.
Yeah, I don't know. She's a free agent, and having
She is.
been injured all year, I'm not sure what their plans for her are. But she's always a great locker room person, no matter how much she's actually contributing on the field. So that's a
Mhm.
benefit to bringing her back one way or the other. But again, you don't never know what new teams might be wanting. Also,
You don't. You don't know what other teams want. You also don't know what Kansas City wants. Like,
yeah,
even though this was technically Matt Potter's team before Andonovski took this over, they do have different soccer brains. I think Potter, like you'd mentioned, wanted to be transitional. He wanted to be, you know, a he wanted to be a coach who really played the ball on the ground. But I also think there was a little bit of like pockets and holes within their style that didn't fit some of the players. So I think with Andonovski, it'll be interesting to see what type of players he's looking to recruit now that he's back in the day-to-day system, because we haven't seen him technically recruit talent since 2019 outside of
right.
national teams. So what is that style he's going to want to play now that he's out of this US soccer system?
And with the U.S., he wanted the best players. He wanted the players who could do all the attacking stuff, the Katarina Macarios and Rose Lavelles. Unfortunately, they were either hurt and couldn't be there, or were hurt and weren't at their best. Um, yeah, it will be very interesting, and because coaches are notorious for coming in saying we want to do this, this, and this, and then they don't really do that. I don't think that's the case for Vlatko, but it was so frustrating when Matt Potter came in. Oh, we want to reflect the city. Well, what does that mean for your style? Well, we want to reflect the hard work of the city.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, I
kind of
haven't heard
like
a coach
coach
say that
speak.
before. Yeah,
Coach speak. And I don't think Andonovski's that guy. And
no,
you kind of mention, like, how do they want to play? And is the coach going to get players to reflect that? Andonovski seems to have a really good relationship with Chris and Angie Long, and they clearly wanted him. I'm sure everybody in the league wanted him, but they really wanted him. And he's familiar with Kansas City, like, he wants to have a more successful career in Kansas City probably than anybody else wants him to have a successful,
Yep.
career in Kansas City. So he's going to be able to go to, I think, Kristen and Geelong and be like, "This is the player I want. How can we go about this? How can we execute it?" And I think that's something really special that Kansas City might have up on different ownership, head coaching relationship across the league. Like, you don't really hear about ownership getting involved and having a relationship with the head coaches more than I hear the Longs being outspoken on social media and with Andonovski. What do
Yeah,
you think?
they are used to getting what they want. So
Yes,
they wanted
and they'll
Vlatko.
spend the cash.
Yes.
Yeah, it's
I
clear and
think
evident.
I think Vlatko probably got a very good contract. I'm not privy to that, obviously, but I think he probably got a
I
very good
know.
contract.
I know. I wanna see that. I wanna see all these contracts. Like player contracts, coaches contracts. I think that would bring such an extra level to how you and I see the game and how you and I could kind of in these types of podcasts, like
Yeah.
just break down this player, Joe Smith, is getting paid $40,000 and playing lights out. And I don't know, Alex Morgan is getting paid $250,000 and she's not. Like, why aren't we? That's where I think if we knew this kind of stuff, like in the NFL, for example, it would be so much more fun, like
Yep.
we could compare and figure out, what's really going on.
With MLS, the Players Association actually puts out the salaries twice a year,
I saw
mid-season and
that.
at the end of the season, and it is actually the biggest views hits on our site for of any article. That's the one that like gets referred to the most, that people read it and they refer back to it, and it will generate hits until the next one's out.
That's crazy. Yeah, see what I mean though? Like, and people are probably looking at that who maybe aren't big MLS fans, and then they're like, okay, this guy gets paid that?
Yeah.
Oh, I have to go watch him play. I think the same thing for NWSL. Like, Dabinia gets paid that? Oh, she must be good. We got to go see her.
Then it's also like, oh, that rookie is only getting paid X, and now they're starting over top of the person who's
Yeah.
making 5 times as much or 10 times as much.
Oh, I know. It's the money behind it all. I think I get it to an extent. You don't want to make it all about the money, but it's a professional league, and these
Yeah.
players I think do get paid well, and it would be really fun to see kind of the breakdown of it all, especially get to the middle of the season. There's injuries. Who kind of is able to step up and be that big player, and how much are they getting paid, and what kind of bonuses do they get after what they put out in the pitch the year prior?
I do hope the NWSL gets to that level where they are doing that. Uh, I don't have faith it's gonna happen anytime soon, but I do hope they do. So,
Yeah. No, I mean, to credit the NWSL, though, I think we've mentioned the bad coaching or the bad people, so to speak, from years prior and the stuff that has come out about the league years ago now. And I think the league has done a great job, and credit to Jessica Bierman, who's really changed how this league is being perceived, how they're kind of marketing themselves, the good play on the field, the fields that they're playing on, the standards that they've set for locker rooms, for coaches, for GMs, for stuff you've never really seen in women's soccer here in the States. And if they can continue to grow that ceiling and make it be, what we hope it all can be in the States, I think they're going to continue to get some of those players from Europe who want to come over here in the summer and have a different experience.
no, I totally agree, and again, credit to NWSL from where they've come from in 2013 to now is leaps and bounds faster than what MLS did it. I mean, they have
Right.
kind of MLS as a little bit of a roadmap of something they can follow, but don't have to follow it exactly. But it and the explosion of soccer across America. I mean, uh, the NWSL, MLS, USL, different levels in USL, academies, which I think is the next big thing that the NWSL really has to focus on is developing academies so that they can develop players at 16 and not 24.
Mhm.
But that's just it's amazing, and I'm loving watching the amount of soccer we have.
I know, it is really fun, and you mentioned the academies. I go back and forth on that one, to be honest, because I love the college game. Like, I think there's nothing like and not just the college game, but the college experience. I went to Penn State, and I would never trade my experience for anything. Like, I loved, obviously, the team, what I learned about the game, how I've grown to love the game and my knowledge for the sport. But my experiences at Penn State, like, I learned how to grow up. I learned how to live with other people. I've learned how to make certain meals that I wanted to eat. I learned how to be a journalist. I went to football games and covered those. I went to baseball games and covered those. Like, I became a better journalist because I wasn't just going to cover soccer. And I think you take that away, it'll be interesting to see. And I don't think it'll ever be fully taken away, but
No.
it could be taken away and made very different if these academy players and these homegrown players just go straight to the league. There's just nothing like college to me. I just like even the NIL deal, and we don't have to dive into that, but that's changed the college game.
Yeah.
And it's a bummer. Honestly, to me, it's a bummer because I think college is so pure and should always stay so pure.
I on one hand, I agree with you. On the other hand, I'm uh, selfish and I want the soccer players to develop faster.
I
So
know.
it's and I do watch it from the on the men's side, the academy players. You're going to see less and less guys coming out of the college to go into the MLS draft. They just expanded it to now down to sophomores for MLS draft, and that's just going to change. And there's more players. Like I'm watching 17-year-olds that play like a professional that wouldn't have 10 years ago.
It's
It's
crazy.
yeah,
It really is. Like, I've been calling MLS Next Pro this past summer, and it's the amount of talent is crazy. And these and being able to speak to these coaches and how each team has a different approach. We want to create individuals. We don't want to create a team effort. And then some clubs where we want to create a really solid team, and then the individuals will either blossom into what we're creating, or maybe they're a better fit for another club in MLS. So yeah, no, I agree. I mean, there's so many ways to slice it, and I think it's different for everyone. Like, each individual is going to have a different experience, whether that's college or having to go to Next Pro or do whatever the NWSL will develop down the road. But I think the college game is so fun, and you learn so much about yourself at that age that you go straight to the professional game, and it's just not the same. You're hanging out with people in their 30s, their late 20s. You're having to grow up faster. You're traveling a lot. That's a lot for a young person to do and isn't always right for everyone.
and again, I'm not really going to disagree, but I do think where we're signing players that are 16 now to professional contracts. It would
Mhm.
be better if they could be in an academy to kind of have that growth where they're more with their own age group or a similar age
Yeah.
group, and then develop to a like MLS Next Pro where you'll have mostly younger players. You'll have a few older players, but you'll still have kind of that experience. I know it's not the same as college, but you'll still have a peer group experience where it won't be as I got a 30-year-old telling me what to do.
Right. Right. No, that's fair. And also too, these 16-year-olds being able to train with the best, right? Like, you go to a college, you might not fit that system and then you're stuck. And on
Yeah.
top of that, you're having to go to school. Like, you look at Mallory Pugh or Lindsey Horan and going overseas right away, not going to college. It worked out for them. But I think if you continue to lean into that a little too hard, I think it's just a fine line, to be honest. There's a fine line of kids who need to go to college, don't discipline them for that, and kids who can
Right.
go straight pro.
And you'll still see people coming out of college because they will be late bloomers. They will develop
Mhm.
their game. They will find some mental strength or maturity, and they will still come out regardless of how this ends up.
Yeah. I mean,
Uh,
there's still late bloomers in the league too, right?
yep.
Like, there's so many young players who throughout Challenge Cup really stuck out, and they're 24, 25 years old. Didn't have that when they were bred out of it when they were 22, but being able to show what they can do later on in their career, I think is important too.
Fully agree. I think we only got like 3 or 4 minutes left before we have to quit. What's your thoughts on NWSL on the
On the final?
playoffs? Yeah.
Oh, the playoffs. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So the semifinals are this weekend. I think, well, we got the first one's Portland against Gotham. You just don't go to Portland and crush and honestly win. I know Portland's only lost 3 games at home this season. Gotham and Portland, I think their front five look exactly the same. Both sides are extremely healthy. Portland has the consistent back line. Gotham doesn't, and I think that's going to be Gotham's biggest Achilles heel. Portland will win.
So Portland
Prediction.
3-1. What do you think?
Yeah, 3-1. That's a good scoreline. I'll go with
Okay.
that.
San Diego and the Rain.
Reign have beat San Diego 4 times this year. I think Reign can get a fifth one. I just think they have this like firepower underneath them. Credit to Casey Stoney and Alex Morgan and Jaden Shaw and the amount of talent Danielle Cole-Prico in the midfield. But OL Reign seems to be on a level that they haven't been able to get to this year. I think they're peaking at the right time.
Okay, so I'm gonna go with San Diego over the Reign,
That's fair.
and so Portland, San Diego in the final, or Portland and the Reign in the final.
Yes.
Who wins the Portland and the Reign in the final?
Gosh, Portland and Reign in the final. I think I'll be safe and say Portland because OL Reign towards the end of all their seasons, they just kind of go downhill. And I think Portland, even though they've had their rough time against Angel City, they're going to pull through. I trust those players more than I trust the Reign players. What about Wave? You think they can clinch their first title?
I will lean towards them if they make it. Yes, I hate to in a way, but at the same time, I don't really have anybody I'm pulling for in those last that last four. So
But like
some
San
maybe more
Diego
than
in
others.
San Diego would be
Yeah,
so cool. Like they draw the coolest crowd. I moved from San Diego. I lived right down the street from Snapdragon and the constant crowds that they got, like that would be so fun. So I'm personally kind of cheering for San Diego because I've been there this past year and seen it more up in person than any other club, but I just think Reign has it over them.
yeah. I think it'd be a great story though.
It would be a great story, absolutely. And I think there's some redemption for like Alex Morgan, honestly, like not
Yeah,
getting the World Cup that she wanted. I see that fire in her for wanting a title this year, but you could say the same thing for Megan Rapinoe, right? Like this is her final year, didn't get the World Cup. She wants a trophy, and this is it for her.
that is it. All right. We will get back together and see which one of us was right. And
Yes.
honestly, probably we're both wrong. It'll probably be Gotham, but yeah,
Oh my gosh. Go Allie Krieger. She's my fellow Penn Stater. I'll cheer for her all day long.
if I was going to root for a team, it would actually probably be Gotham in this case, just
Yeah.
for a lot of reasons. But
Same.
I don't think they'll make it. But I would root for them of the last four remaining. So
I know. I love Juan Carlos Amorós. I think he's done a great job. Great coach, great
yeah,
guy, easy to talk to. But we'll
I
see.
think I think a lot of people didn't think they were going to be this good, and all of a sudden they were.
No.
So
Well, what they did last year to be able to turn it around like this, I wouldn't have predicted it either. But that's what we love about the NWSL, right? Like you can never predict
yeah,
what is happening. And it's
that's
great.
that's sports in general and NWSL in specific.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. That is true.
All right. Before we lose our time here, do you want to say like how anybody should follow you or listen to you or
Yeah. You can follow me on Instagram at Anna Witte, WITTE. On Twitter, I'm at Anna Witte _. I'm on TikTok with the same _ handle. And you can listen to my podcast too. It's at Straight from the Pitch at SFTP Pod.
cool? I
Thanks.
appreciate you coming on. I always love to talk to you, and let's get together again in a couple weeks and just talk a little bit more NWSL and maybe a little more expansion draft and who might be protected or not.
Yes, I would love that. Thank you so much for having me on. This was great.
And we are out.